Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Poems I Love. My name is Servio Gbadamosi, and today I will be reading and sharing four love poems with you. Um, yes, there are so many poems that I've read through the years and that I particularly enjoy. And these poems talk about different subjects, different themes. They are written by different poets from across different countries of the world. And it will be a delight to, from time to time come on this show to share some of these poems that I've particularly enjoyed through the years with you. So today I'll be sharing four of such poems. The very first poem I'll be sharing today is titled Olokun by J.P. Clark. Olokun. I love to pass my fingers as tide through weeds of the sea and wind the tall fern fronds through the strands of your hair, dark as night that screens the naked moon. I am jealous and passionate, like Jehovah, God of the Jews. And I would that you realize no greater love had woman from man than the one I have for you. But what wakeful eyes of man, made of the mud of this earth, can stare at the touch of sleep, the sable vehicle of dream, which indeed is the look of your eyes. So drunken, like ancient walls, we crumble. So drunken like ancient walls, we crumble in heaps at your feet, and as the good maid of the sea, full of rich bounties for men, you lift us all beggars to your breasts. Well, why did I choose this? It was one of the very first poems that one of the very first love poems that I ever came across. It is one of, I think it is one of, besides Abiku Ibadan, Streamside Exchange, I think it is one of J.P. Clark's most anthologized poems. And I love the fact that the title in itself is a reference to the Yoruba goddess of the sea, Olokun, and and the subtle, the wide application of its meaning, not just to the Olokun that appears in the reference and the sea and seafarers in general, but its application to lovers too. The love between a man and woman, for example, that's as depicted by the poet, and how love is a sort of worship, an act of worship that most of us, in those years when I was reading this, I was a teenager, right? And in the years post my teens, I have come to, bow and worship at the very altar of love that the poet depicts and captures in the poem titled Olokun. So, I'll move on to the second poem for today. The second poem is by António Jacinto, and it is titled Letter from a Contract Worker. I love the wit, the humor, and then the paradox in it at the end. The poet here in this poem tells a beautiful story of love, of distance, of separation between lovers, of that longing of absence, and then the ultimate aspect of this for me is the fact that the fatality, of course, of that love in itself, right? Like it was a love that was as much as the contract worker would love to express and communicate his love to his lover, regardless of the distance, his lover's inability to read sort of ruptures that communication chain, that communication device, that communication that the contract worker so badly wishes to express. Letter from a Contract Worker by António, Jacinto. I wanted to write you a letter, my love. A letter to tell of this longing to see you and this fear of losing you. Of this thing which deeper than I want. I feel a nameless pain which pursues me, a sorrow wrapped about my life. I wanted to write you a letter, my love. A letter of intimate secrets, a letter of memories of you, your lips as red as the takula fruit, your hair black as the dark diola fish, your eyes gentle as the makongu, your breasts hard as young mbako fruit, your light walk, your caresses better than any that I find here. I wanted to write you a letter, my love, to bring back our days together in our secret haunts, nights lost in the long grass, to bring back the shadow of your legs and the moonlight filtering through the endless palms, to bring back the madness of our passion and the bitterness of separation. I wanted to write you a letter, my love, which you could not read without crying, which you would hide from Papa Bombo and conceal from Mama Keiza, which you would reread without the coldness of forgetting, a letter which would make any other in all Kilombo worthless. I wanted to write you a letter, my love, a letter which the passing wind would take, a letter which the cashew and the coffee trees, the hyenas and the buffalo, the alligators and the river fish could hear. And if the wind should lose it on the way, the beasts and the plants, pitying our sharp sorrow, from song to song, lament to lament, breath to cut breath, would leave you pure and hot, the burning, the sorrowful words of the letter I wanted to write you. I wanted to write you a letter, but oh my love, I cannot understand why it is, why it is, my love, that you cannot read, and I, the hopelessness, cannot write. Now, well, one of those things, one of those episodes of teenage love that I think I readily recall in my life involved a lot of letter writing. I gained admission into Olabisi Onabanjo University in the year 2002, and then I moved on, and I had this young relationship, and she was still back home. And then telephones were not as common as now. So we would write each other letters. Do you get? I would write letters. I would wait for like between 1 and 3 weeks. Then I would get a response. It doesn't matter that it was just between Agowe and Ibadan, right? The letter still had to take like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to arrive. So I was always going to the mail section in the HOD's office to see if I had letters. I would shuffle through the letters and see if she had written back. Then I would take that letter, go home, sleep on it, read it a number of times, then pick up my pen, tear foolscap paper, and then write a response too. So, and I sort of understand that separation, that distance, that longing for the other person that the poet explores here. But the biggest climax, the high point of this poem for me is the very last stanza, wherein we discover that the contract worker who so badly wants to express his love in writing to his lover cannot write. And the writer, and the lover rather, to whom he so desperately wants to express his love in writing, cannot also read. Okay, So I'll be moving to a third poem. This poem is by um, Professor Niyi Osundare, who is one of the most prolific, the most successful, the most respected poets that this country and this continent has ever produced. Um, he's been like a father to me, but that is not why I've chosen this poem. The poem is titled You Are, and just listen, and I bet you would understand why this particular poem is chosen. You Are by Niyi Osundare. You are my earth, my root, my roost, the roof above my dreams, fireplace for my frozen feelings. You are the temple of my desire, with 1,000 inner rooms and 1,000 echoes. You are the race that lends a name to my legs, the infinite destination, shepherdess of my nomadic fancies. You are the rain which fell before the sky. You are the river rippling coastwards with tales of upland regions. My sea of blue songs, capering calms and dancing minnows. You are the smoke which blends with my evening sky. My horizon of infinite past and liquid futures. You are a song so sweet in its tempting distance. My ears yearn for the magic of your softness. You are a song so sweet in its tempting distance. My ears yearn for the magic of your softness. Okay, I'll move to the fourth and final poem for today. And so, this particular poem, I also came across it, in those early years of my life of me reading poetry here and there from different countries of Africa. It is titled Rosimaya by Atukwei Okai, by the Ghanaian poet Atukwei Okai. This is perhaps the longest poem of the four that I have selected to be read and shared today. It's very emotional, it's very dramatic. It uses a lot of sounds, paints a lot of graphic pictures, of the situation of the love between these two lovers, unrequited love, wasted love, regrets of things that could have been done better, separation, eventual breakup, parting, longing for each other thereafter. And every time I read this as a younger man, I used to laugh a lot. But then it made me laugh, and it also made me somewhat sad because I could relate with the plight of the lovers captured in this poem, Rosimaya by the Ghanaian poet Atukwei Okai. You stone my Saturdays, you waste my Wednesdays, and tear up my Tuesdays into two. You snare my Sundays, you squeeze my Saturdays, and toss my Tuesdays onto thorns. You feign, you feign, you feign, you forget my face in even the pious presence of God our God, the Father Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth, including all, even you and me, who today both hold on to words as different as the land from the sea. Why can't you tell me you no more love me? Or why not tell me you can love me no more? You scorn my Sundays, you freeze my Fridays, and sink my Saturdays in a swamp. You wet my Wednesdays, you soil my Saturdays, and milk my Mondays of their meth. You feign, you feign, you feign. I did not tell you the time and place we were to meet. But I know I did tell you You did repeat it yourself. Your witnesses are your innocent ears, not your faithful tongue, and eyes who would also refuse to remember. Why can't you tell me you never had loved me? Or why not tell me you just will not love me? You slash my Saturdays, you teased my Tuesdays, and snub my Sundays in the sun. You mock my Mondays, you wreck my Wednesdays, and smother my Sundays in the smoke. You feign, you do so love me, but the truth is now like the rain. He who sees not, feels it on his skin, and with a deep paralyzing pain, erodes away the still wet walls of our strong castles built in my dreams. The terrible truth is now like the sun, where it is not seen, it is felt. Skin of your words show a telltale tan, scales blinding my eyes, scales blinding my eyes start to melt. You foul my Fridays, you starve my Saturdays, and mess up my Mondays in the mud. You shun my Saturdays, you maim my Mondays, and heap heavy sorrow onto my soul. So I'll just repeat the last part of the poem again. You foul my Fridays, you starve my Saturdays, and mess up my Mondays in the mud. You shun my Saturdays, you maim my Mondays, and heap heavy sorrow onto my soul. Now, this is a very dramatic one for me, right? You can see the extent to which the poet personal, who is heartbroken, who is devastated by the collapse of his relationship, by the extent that to which he went, to dramatize, to present to us the tragedy, the pain that he or she was going through. Because for sure here, we don't know whether the person of in this poem is male or female. All we know is that this person felt strongly about a person, had so much love for an individual, they enjoyed each other, but somewhere along the line, things went south. You get? And this person was in pain. Maybe this person was also in search of healing. Maybe this was a sort of catharsis in itself for the poet personal, by being able to articulate that pain in itself. Because if there's something I have learned personally about heartbreaks, right? Most times it's a pain and feeling, a regret that you struggle to find words to express. So maybe the poet personal's ability to even be able to articulate that pain is in itself a sort of catharsis that could possibly eventually lead to healing. But that articulation of pain is so relatable for me. It was quite dramatic. He used heavy words and then, wove the expression of that pain around the days of the week. Because what else is love but memories that we make with the people and family and friends that are important to us? And those memories, those memories are like flash floods. You're doing something, your life is going on as usual, as it should go on, then a flash flood of memories comes, and then you remember something, you hear a song, you see a color, you go to a particular location that you had been to with your, with your lover, and those memories just flooding again. And then sometimes that flood can disrupt your day, can take you from that positive place to a bad place where you are hurting and searching for light and healing again. So I love the fact that this poem captures all of that, and somewhere in that somewhere in all of the pain that is evident in the poem Rosimaya, I sort of feel a longing or an actions, a step towards healing and recovery on the part of the poet personal, as we see in this poem. So ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you have enjoyed the 4 poems that I shared today. I'll see you in the next episode of The Poems I Love.